So I would say the direction of Apiary in the Sky right now is to be an authority on the overall context of environmental justice, but also, urban agriculture and just green spaces. So, with the honey and me personally, learning more every day, networking with different beekeepers, understanding that, wanting to produce a quality product will take time. I've started to, look at other aspects of the company that I can, be creative with. So, using some of my marketing, graphic design, art experience to kind of, have a conversation about, you know, how green spaces help our psyche. How creative placemaking, is an important part of mental health. You know, I love fashion and stuff like that, so I get a lot of inspiration from the bees, honey. The color schemes of yellow, brown, and black and stuff like that. So I would love to just kind of be creative, have a lot of fun with the company. Collaboration is something that I'm really passionate about. Being able to work with different brands, New York Times, for example. You know what I'm saying? Just being with people who are passionate about their craft and want to find ways that we can bring it together. So I've worked with a number of distributors, and they may not be as close to nature and like cultivating crops or working with bees. However, they have aligned themselves as solutions for food sovereignty or food waste. Some helping farmers make sure that they're getting the best prices for their product and for their time, but also ensuring that people are being able to utilize the food that people work so hard to produce and at a quality degree. Not like when it's been shipped and passed around, but you know from farm to table basically. So this is a very beautiful place, a special place to me. This is called the Green Oasis Village Garden, and here it's very nice just because you might see it looks like a little bit more wild and untamed, and that's because they follow a method which is called permaculture, which mimics that as getting as close to nature as we possibly can. So allowing the fruits and vegetation to kind of just grow freely and kind of unbothered. And I think that it's more conducive to growing more and growing more fully, but also kind of getting closer to nature and kind of really immersing yourself in the green space. So when you're in here, it's not too manicured or it's not too picked at, too artificial. It's exactly what you're coming for. So you see how we're even around the city right now, but it's a different temperature in here. You know what I'm saying? It's a different vibe in here. And I think that's a big part of it being a permaculture type space. Akaf and Zainab, they are two champions in this space. They help get it from the ground up. So as far as renovating the space from once a vacant lot with the Adopt a Lot program, and now having all these fruits, vegetables, medicinal plants, herbs, flowers, and some of the equipment that's have been acquired from donations, some purchased personally, stuff like that. They put a lot of love and energy into it, and I feel like I couldn't find a better place for my bees to live and to thrive. Not only for like the flowers and for what's growing here, but just to have a group of people who are passionate about the environment and about seeing them flourish and thrive. So that's why this place is very special. Nature really does the work. All we do is give people an opportunity to experience it here. And when you get to experience it here, there's many things that are happening. It can be just the surface level of, okay, this looks nice, and it's nice to see something that somebody invested in that's for you, is community centered. So it's like interacting directly with the people. But then there's also the aspect of kind of showing you how important it is to make sure you take a step away from technology, away from a lot of things that are forced to us nowadays, and getting close to nature. So for me personally, you can't replace experience hiking, seeing a lake, being on a mountain. But this kind of makes it relevant for you, so you can have bigger conversations. So when you talk about impact, I think impact, and when you talk about context, I think this is a small part of a bigger conversation about green living, about sustainability, about, like we said, environmental justice. And when people are in here and in this space, I consider these sacred and safe spaces. So it attracts certain type of people who tend to be more, uh, conscious about their health. It tends to be people who are more spiritual, people who are, looking for the peace that you find in spaces like this. And I feel like that can be infectious. And the more that we work to connect with people, the more that we work to, clean spaces, and people see the change, the physical, tangible change of the landscape of Newark actually changing from when you walk past this vacant lot or this abandoned property, and it was always an eyesore. It was, you kind of learn to live with those wounds, and then you see how it's been renovated. And not only has it been renovated, but now it's something that you can be a part of. You know, you can be the volunteer. You can have space in the garden to grow food. You can eat from the garden. There's all these different experiences that now you have access to. So I look at it like one step in a larger goal. Health is so solely emphasized with everything between COVID-19, and just like I think people are kind of catching up to what you put in your body is very responsible for your mood, for your overall health, when it comes to the variations of men and women and what supports our individual health and things like that. So people are collectively kind of coming around to that. Honey is an elixir. Like you said, a lot of people look at it for as a sweetener for tea. And that's because, especially like in America, that's how it's been kind of marketed to us, is as a honey. You see a little teddy bear, but really, it has so many medicinal properties, versus internally and externally. So I know I did a lot of research about Manuka honey, and it having an effect on your skin, and that's like one of the number one remedies for burns or any type of skin irritation. And then like the honey that we have, we talked about it a long time ago, where it's like immunotherapy, where being engaging with the pollen and things that are directly in the honey that you're breathing in indirectly, it over time will help you build an immunity. So if you were to take a teaspoon or a teaspoon or two every day for a few weeks, you should start to see some people, it's hit or miss with some people, but you should start to see some different changes in how you respond to the pollen and your allergies, different things like that. And that's just the least to say, your common cold or any type of ailment where your throat may be affected. Honey is excellent for that. Beeswax, so like sometimes if I'm using raw honeycomb, for example, I'll eat the beeswax along with the honey that it comes in, just because I feel like it's just good for your system. It's like the most organic, the most natural that you can get it. So I feel like it's always good. And bee pollen. Bee pollen is considered a superfood. It's one of my favorites. It's easy to add it to a yogurt, a cereal. I usually eat cereal with almond milk, so it creates a very, very nice blend. Or even like smoothies. I know like a lot of people I love smoothies, you know what I'm saying? So get yourself a little bit of bee pollen. It doesn't have to be, I feel like sometimes people get really into like healthy living is so distant from them because it's expensive or because it requires so much extra work for preparation. But honey is so simple, I mean, like I said, even if you're just eating a teaspoon a day, and you don't even have to mix it to anything, it can go such a long way. So for anyone that has any aspirations of doing any type of outdoors work, beekeeping, farming, gardening, I would say research is number one. We have a lot at our disposal right now with technology and social media, so that even if you're not so into research, speaking to people, I've learned a lot just from reaching out to people on social media or through different forums, and finding that community where you can share your interests. Because I think if you have to work off your interests, and there's such a variety of different avenues for you to travel onto. So if you're really into seeing the process of seeing a plant grow from a seed to a full plant, that's where you start with your research. If you're interested in maybe something that's more artistic and more creative, that's where you start with your research, and let that interest and that passion really continue to facilitate the growth of that. And that's where it'll become real natural, it'll become easy. Don't get me wrong, it's not always simple. There's a lot of trial and error, but I mean, if you have to find different motivations, like for me, being able to help people, being able to, work closely with the environment and add a conservation element and do something good, I think for myself, my family, my community, that's what keeps me going and gets me through hard times. So once you identify some of those things that will push you when you do face those hard times, after that, it's just literally putting in the time and effort. Things like money, those come and go. Sometimes money might stop you from doing certain things, but I challenge you to be more resourceful. To plan. Planning is definitely key as far as executing your goals, but also just like I said, playing with that trial and error. And just knowing that you don't have to be perfect, but when you make the decision that you're going to do it, that's really what's going to always put you closer to that success.